Hi guys, it's Music King. So I wanted to talk about the new melee god who is now Plup because for a long time there was like the melee gods and then Leffen has beaten everybody at least once each and that would make him what you would call a god, but since the gods are in error, people don't call him a god, they call him a god slayer even though it should be called the same thing. And now Plup, you could either call him a god or god slayer if you're going by the same definition. But more importantly, what I wanted to talk about is I believe that right now in Melee, there's a clear top six, and then there's a pretty large gap after six, between six and seven. Whoever number seven is, it's honestly highly up for debate. There's the clear top six. So if I had to rank them right now based off recent results and, just 2017 results, it'd probably be, before I'd put Armada first, but now I'd probably put HBox first because the last three tournaments in a row. So it'd probably be HBox, Armada, Mango, me, Plup, and Leffen. And those are probably the top six in that order if you're going by results. And then there's a pretty big gap after Leffen and skill. Like, so many people could be ranked number seven. Like, Wizrobe's a contender, SFAT's a contender, Axe is a contender, Chudat, depending on like what you value, like consistency versus like being good versus certain key players. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a clear top six in the game right now, and also wanted to talk about Plup finally beating Armada, which is a set I'm going to analyze soon and post on YouTube. Plup has already beaten everybody multiple times. He's beaten me, Leffen, Hungrybox, and Mango. He's beaten everybody many times each, except he's never gotten to beat Armada yet. But this is actually the first time Plup actually played Armada in 2017, and he actually won the set 3-1 fairly solidly if you look at the matches. The three matches he won was actually pretty convincing. Who actually knows if he would have had the chance to do that sooner. One of the advantages the top two ranked players have, like Armada and HBox at the bigger tournaments, is they don't have to worry about fighting a very difficult quarters match by comparison to seeds 3 and 4, who have to fight seeds 4 and 5 at these majors, because of the skill gap between the top six and the other players. Obviously, this assumes that each player is playing their best and stuff, and there are obviously counters, examples like, okay, like Chudat's obviously ranked a lot lower than me, but he's a good head-to-head versus me because I have an Ice Climber's weakness. But but then Chudat can lose to more combinations of different players, so the overall rank of him, for example, can reflect that. But if you talk about average overall skill, there's a clear top six who are just way better than everybody else, and there probably would go in the order that I named based off recent results and 2017 overall results. Now, obviously, the ranks 1 and 2, since there's like a clear top six, ranks 1 and 2 at any given average tournament, basically Hungrybox and Armada usually, they usually have a much easier time through their quarter match. And the reason for this is because there's a clear top six in skill, but then 7 and onwards aren't nearly as good overall by their average rank. There's obviously exceptions, like in the past, not so much recent, but in like maybe a year ago, SFAT was doing good against Hungrybox. Chudat, obviously, nowhere near my rank. However, he won the last 3 sets because I have an Ice Climber weakness. So there's like head-to-head counter examples that can work. However, if you're looking at but then what I'm saying is they're not even necessarily guaranteed to make it as far in bracket. If you look at results over time, players' average results, like how often they lose to players ranked below them, like how often they beat or lose different players. It's highly likely you're going to find these 6 players consistently doing well, whether it's peak skill, average skill, peaks and valleys, just the overall. So that actually makes it easier for people like Armada and HBox to be fighting each other in grand finals a lot. And one of the reasons you see that is because since they had done good in the past, they get rewarded by getting substantially easier brackets moving forwards. That's actually one of the disadvantages that a player like myself faces, which also means that sometimes Mango, although not nearly as often, and also Plup and also Leffen have to deal with those disadvantages too, because we all have to take each other out early, whereas Hungrybox and Armada, no disrespect to the players 7th and below, they're not overall as good or even as guaranteed to make that part of the bracket on the average, let alone upset the player Armada and Hungrybox themselves at that part of the bracket, meaning it's a lot harder to even have that chance. For example, Plup has beaten Armada, the only set they played in 2017, with a 3-1 score, and all 3 matches was, not by a lot, but all 3 games was definitely a solid victory if you look at the percentage at the end of the match. He wasn't like in danger of losing any of those 3. He clearly had control of the 3 matches he won. This may or may not have happened sooner with either Leffen or Plup, for just an example, with Armada or the player that I would have to fight at the next round. But we don't know that because I had to beat them earlier in quarters, Plup could have beaten Armada sooner. We don't know that. Leffen could have beaten Armada or whoever was the next person that was to fight sooner. We don't know, because we all have to take each other out really early in order to have the chance to do that. So we don't even know what would have happened. Obviously, this is not. I'm just talking about random thoughts. I'm just letting you know why. One of the reasons it is easier for players like Armada and Acebox to be consistent is because they don't have to take out somebody of a top 6 caliber as often during their quarter match. It's usually another very strong player, but not top 6 level, like, for example, Axe or SFET or Wizrobe or somebody who's, like, between the 7th to 10th level, who aren't even as guaranteed to make that part of the bracket. So they don't get upset very often. For like, Wizzy can beat Acebox, although he hasn't done it lately. Like, there are obviously exceptions. And Axe has taken Armada last hit, but he never fully clutched it out yet. There are obviously exceptions. This is some stuff I wanted to talk about. I was testing the theory.